Well, I'm so excited you're watching this video, if it be with us live or maybe on your own time. May you find value in looking at your business and looking at the strategies to maximize your exit now and through your exit. And hopefully, if you're just starting your business, that you stick to the end because there's some really cool things you can do now or even know what to do now when you're looking at an exit and it's not too early to start. So let's dive in. When you think about profit harvest and getting to the end of the game, right? You're going to have everything you ever wanted. I wanted to find a picture that kind of showcased that. So I found this one, which, shows a field filled with wheat, just growth, everything that you think about when you're thinking about a successful harvest, right? And this is what I want you to kind of imagine in your mind. What is that successful harvest for you when it comes to your exit? And there may be years where you see fields like this in your business, and there may be times when you see fields like this. And what happens, and how do we maintain whatever our years might look like so we end up with this and not this, right? So I want to start with the question of, what do you want? Sometimes people are so focused in on, I want to make this amount of money, or I want to do this, or it's got to be a specific thing for your exit. But I would just like to ask the question, well, what do you want? When you think about your exit and leaving your business, what do you want? What do you want on that back end? So maybe write it down or think about it, um, and just ponder on the want. Because my next question is, what do you need? And those are different, right? I may want something and may need something else. So what are those for you? What do I want? What do I need? And what are buyers actually looking for when it comes to buying a business? And how can I align what buyers are looking for and what I want and what I need when I leave, right? What is that balance? So I want to show you this picture, right? Kind of unique. It's and if you know the car, you can say it, right? If you don't know it, don't worry. I'm going to tell you it's a Bugatti. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is sometimes when we think about an exit, we think about something that, you know, what do buyers look for? What do I want? What do I need? But what does all that look like when it really comes down to like something simple? Now, this car was sold in 2010 for $40 million, and it had a couple things going for it, right? It has a good brand. That brand has good financial stability. There's only four of these that were built ever. So it's unique, and it's got a company behind it that's backing it, and a lot of good things. So when you think about, what do I need to be looking at in my business? If I'm looking at like the top three selling aspects for a business, well, financial performance is important, right? The company needs to be making money. It needs to have growth behind it. It needs to have profitability, good cash flow, and financial stability. Another thing that's really important for buyers when they're looking at businesses is, does it have the market share, customer base? Is it a repeatable model? Is it a subscription-based model, or do I need to go out and sell new things every single year for me to make money? Or can I have that repeatable model, and can that be scaled over time? So that growth potential, how far am I getting? Am I differentiating? And then my operational efficiency. How efficient is my process, and can I scale it because it's so efficient? And when you have a company you're looking to sell, you have to look at those inner workings of it. Do I have all three of these? And if I don't, which one do I need to work on now? And how powerful that could be to actually work on it now and empower your business. Because even if you're planning for an exit and you've got years behind you before you're going to actually exit, all these strategies actually just make your business really solid. So look at this as an opportunity that you can do some real transformation today that will impact your tomorrow. So, how do you know if you're ready, right? Well, there's only two main things that you need to know if you're ready, and that is, maybe you could say them, or maybe you're saying it now. It's just answering the question. Am I personally ready to sell this business? And is my business ready? Right. And then, of course, there's pieces that go into play here. And the first one on the personal side is, am I financially ready? Do I have my runway for 30 years after I exit the business? Am I set up? Am I mentally ready? Am I at a place in my life where I'm, you know, maybe going to do other things to challenge myself? Maybe I enjoy my business. Maybe there's an emotional aspect to my business and I'm not ready to leave that yet. Maybe that identity that I have is so wrapped up in there that it's just what I get up and want to do every day. So if I were to exit, what would my day look like? And having that plan, that third act plan in place will help, especially if you want to exit. Maybe what you're doing has components in there that you don't enjoy. And you're like, I would like to do this in a different way. And running the business is not fulfilling me. And maybe I don't have that personal passion anymore for it. So what do I need to do? What do I need to do to get personally ready to be able to exit when I want? And then how do I get my business ready? So everything on the business side, are my financials in order? Are my books in order? You know, a lot of times we look at tax planning clients and the books are just not in order when we look at them. So, taking a moment with your bookkeeper, if you don't have a bookkeeper or if you are trying to do it on your own, really taking the time to work on that can really help on the back end, especially if you plan to sell your business and keeping it consistent over time. Also, having a way to increase the revenue, consistent profit, and those client vendor relationships, how important they are, and can they sustain if you're not there? Meaning, you built the relationship, but the relationship is with your company, not just you. And that if you have a team, that they are also building those relationships with the clients and with the vendors and with your specialists. So everybody is all together, and it's not just dependent on you as an owner. Also, operations processes, this usually comes down to the most one thing that you can work on today, but also one of the most important parts, because if you don't have your operations or processes outlined, then it can lead to a lot of unknowns if somebody were to take over the business, and or you have many different systems you're using. You know how they work together, but somebody else may not, and that might be overwhelming, and therefore this is just not going to move forward, right? It needs to be easy for a new business owner to come in and take over your business. So think about, out of all these things, is it easy? Is it able to be taken over? And do I have these things even in place? And if I don't, which one of these can I take on in the next 30 days to be able to look at it, review it, and see what I need to do? And of course, that means maybe meeting with somebody or working with a specialist and seeing what that next steps are. And I'm going to just put these side by side. So again, when it comes to selling your business, the most important questions are, am I ready? And is my business ready? And you might be thinking, well, it's interesting. Gonna show me a picture of dessert. Yes, I love dessert, and dessert always should come first. But this image is of a souffle. And when I was looking online, I was thinking, what is the hardest thing to actually make if it were a dish, right? And of course, it gave a list of 10 different things, but souffle came up, and why I like it is because there is an order and there's a process, there's a recipe, right? There's a ingredients that you need, and if I put all the ingredients in and pop this thing in the oven, it will not come out the same as somebody else. And there is a process to even the timing and the temperature. And if you follow those all to a T, then even then it could come out and not be done. So it's just amazing when we look at different things in our life and the different ways of looking at our business. Hopefully this will inspire one of you to think, what is my recipe? Am I following all the different tools out there? Do I even have one? Am I following the list of things I need? Do I have access to that? If you don't, we have downloadables at the end of this. And then who do I need to work with that's going to help me? Maybe making a souffle on the first time would be tough on your own, but if you did it with somebody else, it might be a little easier. They may know how to do it. So working with the right team, working with the right people, and being able to bring that beautiful dish to fruition at the end, just like your business, being able to walk your business through in a timely manner and starting earlier than I have to, right? Business owners, the statistics say that 50% of businesses will exit and not by choice. So if you have a choice today and you're able to choose, prepare now, and then you'll be ready whenever something happens. And hopefully you'll be choosing that exit. And hopefully this inspires you and doesn't make you too hungry. It does look pretty delicious. But today I'm going to give you three strategies that can transform your exit. And they're not the typical strategies. You might be thinking, she's going to talk about, different aspects of the business or give me what is the magic potion. No, this is going to be strategies you can put into place. Some take time, and most of them actually take a bit of time. And if you think about that, starting earlier is always better. You always hear people say 2 to 3 years. And I really like to say give yourself 10 years to really plan this out, because every decision you make today will impact your tomorrow. And if the more you plan now, the better it will be. Even if you decide to change, doesn't mean you have to do what you think you're going to do today, but you're going to start putting things in order that will help you in the long run. So when you see this picture, it's for those that like to fly, you might think, well, it's beautiful. But when it comes to your business, I want you to think about, most people use the image of a rocket. Rockets are cool because they take off and they're fast, but not every business is like a rocket, right? It might be more like a plane where you're putting everything together, you're loading everybody on, you're getting all the components, you're putting things, and then you take off and you're on your journey. And if you look at this, right, there's a lot of components to it. You have everybody in the back. That might be your clients, it might be your collaborators, it might be your team members, right? They're helping you and they're helping with everybody on the plane, and you're flying this thing. And if you said, I gotta go and I just need to step out for the next month, what happens, right? What happens to everybody on the plane? They're gonna either freak out, or if they don't know, or if they do know, I mean, you just think about a plane. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody just walked up and said, you know what, I'll take over while you're away, and they sit down and they fly that plane. And if they need to land it, they can land it. And sometimes we don't have that choice, right? We just are going, and then something happens and somebody's got to take it, or it just is going to, go down. So think about who in your world could take over if you had to step away. And who could be your co-pilot, meaning what advisors in your space could help you. I know when I sit in the cockpit with my clients, so to speak, I might be giving clarity, like wiping the windows down or organizing everything on the side, or giving strategy around a different aspect of it, or giving tools to use and making sure all the processes and everything's in order, and thinking about who are those people that this is a very safe space to be in. Not many people get to go into this area, but the ones that you work with are the ones you want to be flying with you in your business, right? So hopefully this inspires you to think about your business not only today, but if something happened. So what I like to talk about is the victory steps. So if I were to fly this plane and not be in your business, and taking it as far as you can take it, and then having a powerful exit strategy and handing that plane off to somebody else, and your clients get to keep riding, or you decide to land it safely with your clients on your own. Either way, there are some things you can put in place. And we call these the 7 steps to victory. Now, this process does take about a year, but if you are thinking about your business and what aspects of it and how could I really empower it for a powerful exit, most of the time, business owners don't know what their business is actually worth. And when they get an offer, then they're not sure and they're not ready. So knowing ahead of time, what is my value? Where am I potentially having areas that I could enhance my value, enhance my business, maybe enhance my exit amount if I were to sell to a third-party buyer? Starting early just builds you up to have the opportunity to go from ordinary to best in class. And that's what most business owners are looking for, is how do I operate at best in class? So working on that first V is so powerful, even if you're somewhat new or you've been in this for a while. And having an exit plan. So like we said, 50% are not going to choose an exit. So having a plan in place, even if you don't turn it on right away, can be very powerful. And having that plan can also equip you for the plane ride, right? Having the right people, knowing who the people are, who to reach out to, who's going to take over if you need to step away or if something happens. And then in that process of having this plan and putting your focus on value, really looking at the cash flow in your business, because you're going to see on the next strategy, the cash flow is a big impact, right? If I'm not, I may make good money, but if I also have high expenses and I don't have any profit, it limits some of the things I can do. So cash flow optimization, really getting it honed in on your numbers and tracking it can be very powerful. Also, tax planning. A lot of business owners, expense, right? I'm going to create as many expenses as I can so I can get my bottom line down and I don't have to pay taxes. But what if there were different things you could do? What if there were credits? What if there was incentives? What if there was a way to put that money back in your pocket in the IRS? Having a tax plan that somebody's actually walking you through that process to implement, not just handing you a plan and saying, here, this is what you need to do. Now go figure it out. Wouldn't that be powerful? So we work with clients on that as well, being able to have a plan, but being able to implement the plan while you think about your business as a whole, right? Everybody aligned and in sync together, riding on the same plane. And then how do we bring that operational efficiency? As you saw, the three things that buyers are looking for, one is operational efficiency. So working on your company and getting everything documented in place and following it and keeping it up to date is very powerful. Risk management, keeping the risk low. Buyers don't like risk. If you can keep your company at a lower risk by either putting in different strategies or putting in different plans that help reduce the risk or take the risk away from you, or maybe you don't even provide a service because that's too risky, you outsource it. So there's so many different ways to mitigate risk in the business and make you more best in class kind of structure, and then that can be more advantageous for an exit. And one of the biggest things that people miss is they might have really good plans that get put in place, but after 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, 5 years, and they don't update the plan, that plan may be obsolete, right? You might have done a valuation when you started and you did a buy-sell agreement and that company was worth $1 million and now it's worth 10, but nothing changed in the plan, nothing changed in the structure. And now that business owner your partner wants to leave, and they're not happy because that's not what the company is worth. So sometimes we create these things and think we have them done, but those yearly reviews, they can really transform your business from year to year. And you saw those pictures, right? The harvest, you could have really great years and really tough years. And how do we maintain and keep those years of really having a great end of year no matter what we go through? How do we maintain? Now, one thing I want to give you, because those are a lot, that's 7 steps to victory. And if you are thinking, I should be doing all those, but what happens if something happens tomorrow? Well, I'm giving you a few things you can really hone in on for just an emergency, meaning this would be an exit that will help your end exit, but it will also help you just right now, because sometimes we don't have the long haul ahead, and if we don't even do this step, then it can be a very bumpy ride, so to speak. So let's smooth out the trajectory, at least for the next however long that might be, until you can put a full plan in place. If you know who the key personnel and the roles are, even if you don't have a team, you're like, I don't know who's going to take over. Well, find a consultant that's like you and have an agreement. Put somebody in place. If something happens to you, my friend or my spouse or somebody's going to reach out to you, let you know, I'll have a place. Everything will be documented. Everything's put. There's communication in place for my clients and for everybody. If whatever happens, you can send. It's already been scripted for you. You don't have to stress out. It's not going to add a lot to you. I just need you to be able to, do these things if that is something you're willing to do. And you could work that out with somebody. If it's somebody on your team, then you would have all this documented, and somebody on your team would take your role for that time period. And then you would have a longer plan in place, whatever that might be, if you're not stepping back in. So this is emergency. Just having this will really just take a lot of stress off of you and also take your business up another level, which is really awesome, especially if you were to exit before you wanted to. And even just this was done, it takes you above a lot of companies that do not have these things in place. So as you are thinking about this, right, this is the first strategy. The second strategy, I bring in this idea of this compass, right? And where are we headed? And looking at those charts, this one, we alluded to it, and it was the first strategy of the three that buyers are looking for. This is all about the cash flow because there's a study done that 79% of businesses fail because they start with too little money. And sadly, most companies don't last 1 year. So if you're over 1 year old, like congrats. Now it's how do I really build this thing so I can either exit or exit in any way I choose versus the trajectory of most businesses, which is shutting down and having to quit. 82% fail because of cash flow. And that's mainly due to they either make a lot 1 year and make that dry picture I showed you with the parched land. They may have a year that's just parched and they didn't have any savings, and that savings led them to having to go back and maybe it was get a job or do something else. So these things happen. And if you put some of these tools in place, then it can help you sustain for the long haul. So strategy two is being able to take your cash flow and optimize it for the long haul. This, if you're able to do and you're able to show to a buyer, it's highly valuable, but also it's just really powerful for you as a business owner and your success. So here's a few things you can do. Diversify your revenue. If all your revenue is coming through one type of sell, then you may want to look at another service or another product or maybe a new market or even optimize the pricing if you are having a little tough time maybe launching a new product or a new service. This goes back to one of our sessions before, where innovation mining, if I'm able to ask my clients, what do they want? What else could I add on? You think about if I were to get this, what else do I need? What's an upsell? What if I don't need that, what else could I use that maybe doesn't cost as much, but is still beneficial to my business? Do you have any of these opportunities in your company where you can just make more money, keep them stickier, and keep them where they are having a recurring income? Maybe the contracts are 1 year versus month to month, or maybe there's other things you can do on that revenue side. Also, cutting costs. Sometimes we are spending money and not reviewing that there may be other options that could be more beneficial or the same, but cost considerably less. And so, if that's the case, then what do I need to do? Every month, going through my expenses, seeing where and what am I using, what am I not using, what can I let go of, and what could I potentially even just get a better price for it. And managing cash flow, monitoring the cash flow in and out. It might mean that maybe you get a line of credit or something like that if you have big expenditures in short period and you get paid back. And instead of depleting your cash flow, maybe you get a line of credit that gets used and then you pay it back. And that just keeps you healthy in case something else comes up. And it puts another strategy in place for managing this cash. And you might be thinking, well, that's great, Amanda. How am I going to do it? Well, this is what you can do. You can actually track them monthly. There are softwares, there are tools out there. You can use them. I can be happy to give you some suggestions if you reach out to me, or if you wanted to work together, we could use some of those as we work. But even just bare bones doing the tracking of it monthly, if it be in your books or in an Excel sheet, tracking monthly, comparing it month to month, quarterly, yearly, maybe even looking at last year this month versus this year this month. Did I do better this year than last year? Reviewing and planning ahead for your expenses and then reducing where you can and putting into place a three bucket approach for your business, because sometimes we don't save for emergencies and emergencies can happen. So if I have 6 months of stability, or maybe there is other tools out there, right? Risk management. If I get disabled, do I have business overhead expense? Do I have some of these things? How can I get them? What does it look like? Is it worth it? What other components can I utilize that may help me with this? But if I have an emergency fund, I have a tax fund, because sometimes when we go through the year, we're making money and that might be good. But when we get to the end of the year and now we need to plan for the taxes, that money might be depleted, right? We might have earned it, and now what are we going to do next? So thinking about if I were to plan ahead, this is one of the things that has come up multiple times is I made good money, I don't know where it went, and now I got to pay my taxes, and now I've got this. So creating that can be very powerful for you, not only today, but also for your exit because you're looking at this long term. And if you're not profitable, what can you do? So slowly over time, and then what are the different steps to get that cash flow up and put more money in your pocket? So the question comes, well, you're talking about a lot of things, right? And revenue, cash flow, profit, but which one should I prioritize? Well, I'm going to actually say a little bit of all three because the balance of these are really powerful because yes, revenue is what you're earning. Top line, before expenses is what you have. You need to be taking a peek at this because it's key for your financial health and to seeing what you're doing in your business. But the cash flow says what's coming in and what's coming out. And if I'm not looking at my cash flow and I'm not looking at what's going out, I may be making good money, but so much of it's coming out that I'm not actually coming home with any profit, right? And that's at the end when I've paid everything and what's coming back. And if this, either based on my service, if it's based on a product or a service, if this isn't worth my time or my effort, then why am I doing it? And what else could I be doing in my business is going to make me more money? And how can I really end up with what I want and pay myself more, keep more money? And if you're thinking, well, I'm trying to expend so much because of expenses for my taxes, then again, I'm going to bring back, there are other tools out there that you can put money into your pocket versus the IRS and give yourself a little bit healthier financial structure to your business. And that will be also advantageous for when you want to exit. So just real quick, those top are the definitions. The bottom is what's like the actual indicator. So revenue, if your revenue is good, is a key financial metric that indicates a company's ability to generate income and sustain its operations. Cash flow, it indicates that business has enough cash flow to cover all of its expenses and its investments. And it also suggests the financial health of the company. So this is key features. You saw that in that first, who is looking to buy. These are the three things. They're looking at all of them. And sometimes we're only looking at one in our business. So this is why I'm bringing this up so you can see all of them. So profit is the crucial measure to understanding the financial performance, efficiency, and also your overall success. So I bring this back to here, right? We've covered two strategies. The first one being the steps to victory, or what at least is my emergency plan if something happens, flying that plane powerfully. The second one, cash flow optimization and looking at a company for the long haul for an exit. If you're able to optimize that cash flow, you're stepping into best in class and above the rest. And the last one I want to bring is actually, if you were not able to exit by a sell, how could you still exit? So what if you could exit your company without selling your business? There's a lot of businesses that want to sell and they are planning on a sell and they're basing their whole future on this one exit. But what if the business doesn't sell? What if it goes back to that dry, parched land? It wasn't there. It wasn't ready and it wasn't time and you got to leave. What if you could actually build your own exit? So before I share what that is, let's talk about, well, how could we powerfully do it and what would that entail? So there's four key areas that if we were able to build like a perfect, I don't need to sell my business, but I need to have a powerful future and leave my business and be able to sustain my life and enjoy. So I'm not scrimping by, I actually have enough and I've actually planned ahead. It would allow through my business, wouldn't this be great? It would allow me to have deductions and it would allow me to accumulate as much wealth in that period that I can based on the metrics that I have put in and I worked with my team on. It would be protected. So if something happened, that money is there and it's not going to be able to be hit by creditors, predators, or lawsuits or things that come up. And then I also have a powerful strategy to be able to get that money, because sometimes you put money into things and you're not able to touch it. But what if you have an actual plan that you're able to take that when you need it and when you want it and when you want to exit your business? Now, thinking about this, there does come this, it needs to be a plan that this plan needs to be comfortable for you, and there needs to be a commitment behind it and cash flow. So we talked about cash flow being very powerful, and this also comes into this last strategy that can be so transformational for business owners, especially if you don't plan to sell to a third party, or if you're not able to sell to a third party, that at least you can reduce the stress and have a plan in place and be able to exit your business so you don't have to work all the way to the end. So what's this strategy? Well, it's creating your own pension. So back, years ago, all these companies had pension plans, and everybody loved working for these big companies because they knew if they worked so many years, they would get so much money and they could plan for their future. Well, things changed, and not a lot of companies have this. And a lot of small companies, when they switched the rules a few years ago, didn't know they actually have the ability to do this themselves. And so now it's just a matter of sharing this information. A lot of CPAs, they know and they have their clients do it, but they don't actually implement it themselves. So even though they may have the knowledge and they may have the people around them, they're not able to implement it, and they may suggest things, but they may not be talking to you about it because they're looking behind. Most accounting professionals are looking at what happened, not what can you do or how can you get there, and how you could just update a few things in your business, how you pay yourself, and plan for those next steps. So this is a really powerful strategy that not only falls into your exit, but it also falls into tax planning. It gives you security, and you can really utilize your business to do some powerful planning for your wealth accumulation and your continuity. This takes the stress away, that if I know that I have a certain amount that is going to sustain me and I'm putting this into my business and I'm able to walk away, then selling my business is like icing on the cake. Then I'm going to make extra money, and that will be, you're going to cross that bridge when you get there. So think of that. I'm showing you just a quick example. Now, this is a structure, right? It is a case study. This is what somebody did with their situation. And really the benefit here is being able to have a plan. This plan was 10 years, and being able to put money away for 10 years, the tools that go into this, there are different tools. They have different ways that, and the most important component of this is really, what is the end game of it? And what about the business owner? How much do they need in tax deductions? How much are they making? How old are they? This business owner is 40 years old, and you see working for the next, 9 years, 49 years old, being able to walk away with over $3 million. Isn't that powerful? So and you think about your business, if you were able to walk away from your business in 10 years, if you were able to set up a strategy like this, how would that transform would you stress as much about your exit if you knew you had a plan in place? Now, some of the cool parts of this is that you can actually create this strategy that if you're paying yourself those a W-2, or if you're taking distribution, as long as you're paying self-employment tax, it's not that you've got to pay yourself such high wages to be able to do this. It's what is the balance between your age, what is the balance between what you're paying yourself, how much tax deductions, and then what's the benefit. So this individual paid themselves $80,000 a year, was able to take a tax deduction and of $61,000 in savings and put away $165,000 for themselves. Now, I don't know, if you look at the different tools out there, if you can find one better, you let me know. I'm going to show you a few tools, but this is really something when you think about your future, about what you're able to create for yourself, and how you can create your own exit working with the right team. This does take a few different team members, a financial professional, a third-party administrator, tax professional and keeping everything in compliance and in order. And you'll see there's a lot of these plans out there, but some of them are limited. They're limited in how much you can put into them. They're limited by what you can do every year. And if you're putting away, $15,000 a year, is that going to be enough if you put $15,000 away for 10 years? Is that going to be enough to retire on? So what are some other tools? And what can you do in your business to be able to get your business to where it might need to be able to actually utilize some of these incredible strategies that are available. So you see here, this is an owner at different ages. The salary is 330,000, and then you can just see the different, right? The different types of plans and the options that you have out there that you could put through your business, and how some are limited to certain amounts. You can see like a SEP has certain amounts, and your employees, if you have employees, they are 100% invested immediately. So if you wanted to give yourself some other tools and be able to have employee retention, be able to incentivize them, then some of these plans can be very powerful, not only for yourself as an employer, but also for your team members and being able to give to them as well. And of course, if you want to find out more, definitely find a time on my calendar and we can get you scheduled with a specialist and walk through this to see if it's a good fit. Now, we'll say that this isn't for everybody, and it's also good to know, but it's what can I do to get there, right? If you're younger than your workforce, then what does that look like? How do we get this to be a potential fit for you? What if you're younger than 35, but you're getting close? What if you're not paying yourself a reasonable wage? What do you need to pay yourself? And working with that third party administrator on those different things, it's amazing what opens up and how things can be planned ahead. So if it's not this year or next year, maybe the next year that you can do it, but at least you know you have an option and you have a plan in place to be able to fulfill it. Some of the other things is maybe if you're cash flow, if you have a company that's not as stable, then it's what other tools are out there for you that you can utilize. In this one, you would want to have stable income every year. And of course, for an exit that you're increasing that every year as well. So just to recap, we covered a lot today. There were 3 strategies shared, but I'm going to just give it to you real quick. So what do you want when it comes to your exit, and what do you need? Right? And if you don't know what you want and you don't know what you need, then taking the time now may be very powerful to just sit down and think about those things. What do I want? What do I need? And what do I need to do to reverse engineer my goal to get there? Am I ready when it comes to an exit? And is my business ready? And where are those not ready? And what could I do today to be able to be ready? What could I do over this year? What could I do over the next 2 years? Who could I work with that can help me get ready and help my business get ready? 7 steps to victory. We work with clients on this, being able to have all those components in place so you have a powerful exit at any time, and you may be even able to choose your exit, right? By doing that last step, being able to create your own plan and be able to fulfill it and put more money back into your pocket than the IRS. Very powerful. And all during that time, being able to manage your cash flow, optimize it, and take your business from ordinary to best in class. So as we wrap up today, what are the 3 actions that you can take in the next 30 days to help maximize your exit? I gave you a lot of things today, and even if you just choose 1, 2, or 3, what could you do to be able to transform that for yourself?